F1 boys. Do you want to talk about Vegas first?
Yeah, well, I think it's the big storyline, Vegas getting a race added in there. And I was telling James before with F1 when they changed their ownership, they're now kind of owned by Americans. They've got American ownership of the Formula One. And a couple of years ago, they were asking the drivers what they want to see, and they wanted to see Ricardo was like, I want to see a race in Las Vegas. And, of course, he was pumped on social medias. And Lewis followed that and said, I'd love to see a race in Miami. Both, of course, have come to fruition. They're going to have races
in both.
Yeah, there's a race in I think both come in the next season.
Does Austin keep it?
Yes.
So there's going to be 3 in America.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the big news was Las Vegas was going to get a race starting next season, probably the replacement for Moscow. Well, not Moscow, Russia losing their race because I think the race is actually in Sochi.
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 So it's not in Moscow.
Definitely not the same place.
No, exactly. Changing my city. So, replacing the Russian GP. But how awesome is this? Because it's going to be a night race, street circuit down the strip.
Unreal.
Because you know what Vegas looks like when it's all lit up at night?
Yeah.
And they're going to have F1 cars race around it.
Neither of you blokes have been, have you? Oh, did you go when you were in the States?
No, I didn't get to Vegas. I just stayed in the Gulf area and then East Coast.
Yeah.
I think I've been 3 times. It's unreal. It's the entertainment capital of the world for a reason, and it seems like a fitting place to host an F1 race, a street race at that.
Yeah, and I was telling James before, like with the Raiders moving there, they're kind of sort of building up their sporting icon as well.
Right.
Now getting an F1 race there.
The Golden Knights in
hockey. Yeah, well, they're adding sports into to go with the Sin City aspect as well. So
NBA's only 30 teams as well, with all the other major leagues having 32. Could you see a basketball team going to Vegas?
Yeah,
just pure speculation at the moment.
Yes. But hey, it's growth. It's definitely grown as a market there. They've obviously the Raiders kind of improved, especially in the NHL as well. With the Golden Knights, proved that it's not just a tourist destination. They can get people consistently into the stadiums to watch the events. And I don't know what they're going to do seating wise along the strip, but they're probably going to have plenty of people.
Madness, man!
I can't imagine what the ticket sales are going to be at Caesar's Palace, etc. You're just sitting in your hotel room watching the F1 go around. I was excited, and definitely the drivers were a lot more excited about this than they were about racing in Saudi Arabia last week. So,
shout out to our Saudi overlords. We are very reliant on you at the moment for our fuel.
But looks like a very fast course. Only 14 corners, and a lot of those corners end up being together a lot. So it probably ends up being more like 7 racing corners with 3 straights, 2 DRS areas. Going down the strip, I think, is going to be very, very quick going down there. Estimated top speed, 342 kilometers an hour, 212 in stupid numbers. So it's I'm looking forward to it. And James and I were doing a bit of investigation on the satellite footage, trying to work out how it's all going to fit. It looks like they're building what was it? The Sphere? What was the Sphere called?
Yeah, the MSG Sphere.
They've just been finished building that, and it's going to go around that. So
looks like they're going to knock down a block of condos to put in a permanent
racetrack
in one of the corners.
Because was a 4 or 5 year deal I think they did for this, so it's going to be there a while. And then add that to Miami. They're going to have those 3 Americas. They've got Mexico and Brazil, so that's going to be their American tour. They've already been talking about the 30 race season from what do they got now? 20? Was it 23 or 26? It's 23 last year, wasn't it? Was it 22? I can't remember. Anyway, they're talking about 30 race season. Like it's getting out of hand at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they do have that summer break in the middle of the season. So, like, I'm not an F1 driver. I don't know how a race takes.
Well, not even just the F1 drivers,
because on your body, but
I think the logistics for more of the teams, like they're in and
it is a lot of traveling
for them, because the F1 drivers I finished my race and flying back to Monaco, and I'll say, and then fly. The teams is like, all right, I got to load all this shit up, fly it over, unpack it all, and
that is true.
Yeah, it is probably the biggest sports circus in the world, where they just every week in a different country moving around.
The fact that
moving every single team for the entire comp moving around all at once, it's impressive. So of course we're very got the Chubbs here for the F1 so far.
Full Nick Chubbs.
Yeah, because
Not half Chubbs, full Nick Chubbs.
Yeah, well, we'll go full Chubb when we get to the Australian GP this week. So in our backyard, 7 hours away in Melbourne.
Before we get onto
that's
that,
backyard in Australia.
yeah, it's close enough.
Tobias.
before we get onto that, should I postpone the wedding for a year and have our box party in Las Vegas for the race?
Oh yeah, could do.
Just need someone else to get married in the group.
Yeah. Ooh.
that list is short.
Well, there's two potential there. One that should do it, and the other one that maybe needs to pop the question anyway. That's for the lads if they're 230 deep.
Yeah.
So
a lot of in jokes. I'm sure that the listeners are getting.
That's why I'm moving on. So
I've really got that.
We've talked about there's 10 race teams, 20 cars currently. Andretti potentially is going to look to join.
I think they were 2024.
2024, they're like kind of confirmed because they're going to be a Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen. I think Volkswagen's the overlords for that company.
So Volkswagen being the group head has, I think they've come into agreement that in 2026 Porsche and Audi will also run teams as well. So that will take it up to, including Andretti, Porsche, and
Porsche
Audi.
and Audi. One team, their own teams.
Three new teams in the next 4 years.
Well, because that then confirms it. Because in the regulations and the rules, they've said there's meant to be 13 teams. That's the maximum. Whether the F1's can always change that regulation. Like now it's 14, 15. But anyway, it's 13 currently. And what you've just told me is they've confirmed that they're going to fill out all those spots with an Andretti team and then a Porsche and one black
Audi
team, which is quite interesting because they're direct competitors with Mercedes-Benz for what they do car-wise, of course, being German outfits. Renault, of course, being big French outfit. And then there's the Ferrari. So,
is that starting next year?
They said 2014 for Andretti,
which is US based, and
for the German teams.
For Volkswagen. So
it'll
be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the engines. Whether they
build
their own or
like Mercedes does. Exciting times ahead in F1. You can see the growth in F1 even in the last 2 years. Like it's been crazy the amount of people getting involved, getting in the sport, especially now with the regulations changes and bit more competitive. Would be interested to see what happens in the Australian GP this week. For my segue, if that maintains and they get to see a bit more of that overtaking the fast racing. Of course, as we said, that is on the 10th of April, 3 o'clock race time. Looking forward to it. Probably concerned about our boy Ricciardo and where he's going to fit in that. Looks like Ferrari and Red Bull are a step ahead of everyone else. So hopefully it's been 2 weeks. Hopefully the teams have made some adjustments, added some performance upgrades into that package and be a competitive GP.
That's it.
And hopefully... no, I won't say that. I was going to say hopefully someone gets COVID and then Oscar can get a drive, but then I was like, that's pretty bad. I won't say that.
No.
But I'd love to... Point being, I'd love to see Oscar drive around with Ricciardo, but I might have to wait a year for that.
He'll get his chance.
Yeah,
he should,
definitely.
On the COVID, Vettel's back. So he'll be racing this week after being sidelined by COVID for
Hulk
the
was
first
filling in for him?
rounds. What was that?
Hulk was filling in for him? Nico
Yes.
Hulk?
Yeah. We should see Mick Schumacher back as well after his shunting
rebuild
the other week. Yeah. So that should be good. But I guess we'll wrap up that race next week.
Well,
actually, no. We'll
have to see.
Depending on when we
do the potty. Yeah.
Just going back to that MSG Sphere, I was just doing a little bit of reading around that. It's going to be the biggest constructed sphere in the world. It's breaking all kind of construction records, and it's expected to be finished before this race in Las Vegas. So I'm gonna be watching a little bit of YouTube around this sphere that they're doing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, right.